Now, even as I'm trying to make this video, I don't know if you guys can hear it, there's a crow protesting in the background. And there's really nothing I can do about it. You can go back and look at my review, what I felt about the movie. Do check it out. But here I want to address possibly some new and fresh ideas or even a wish list about where they can take the story from here. And this is not going to be perfect, and I know I'm taking a risk by putting it out there. But when I say something isn't good enough, and if I have some ideas to offer, I just thought it'll be interesting to make a video about it and see what you guys think. Hero development. I felt like the first movie focused so much more on who the villain is and why he's doing what he wants to do, that Jason in many ways did not seem as a very compelling character to me. I know that the arch they were going for is Jason goes from being self-absorbed to a person now who wants to fight for his community and stay back. And I hope that they lean into that a little bit more. One of the things they can explore is the identity, right? Who is Jason, a young man that the entire village knew, versus this new avatar of Minnal Murali, right? So that's something that they can explore. Are they the same people? So the merging of that character and personality, I think will be interesting. I know that this is an angle that's been explored in many superhero movies, but just because it's explored in other movies doesn't mean they should not do it here. I'll tell you why. Because that's just a natural human tendency. They cannot skip that phase at all. And it's quite natural for anyone who's been bestowed some amazing superpowers to ask themselves, who am I? And so that kind of struggle between the identity that we've seen all superheroes go through, I'd love for them to explore what does Jason want to stand for? How does he handle fame and notoriety? Is it going to be something where he capitalizes on that for selfishness? Or is he truly going to be a self-sacrificial hero? The other aspect is the father-son relationship. I wish they show a little bit more chemistry between the two actors, that is his adoptive father and Jason. So that's an angle that they can go for and give us a little bit more about that relationship. Now, coming to superpowers, I think it's great if they lean into the lightning aspect, the science behind the lightning, and then gain some powers straight out of that. So let me propose a few things. One can be teleportation, just like lightning can strike anywhere. Maybe has that ability, but give it a limitation. He can only do that when there are stormy clouds. Who knows, maybe he has the ability to create stormy clouds. I think that'll be an interesting thing to explore. We know he can't fly, but maybe he can instantly appear. The other power can be a sound wave, or let's call it a thunderclap, because lightning can produce a sound that is thunder, which is also powerful. So he can probably have some kind of sound wave. The other part is also lightning is light, right? So maybe he has the ability to stun his enemies simply with blinding light. It'll also be interesting if they give him some weakness. Even Superman has his weakness. Giving a clear weakness can be pretty interesting. A weakness that his enemies can exploit. And one of the weaknesses, even if it's not an outer worldly substance that makes him weak like kryptonite, maybe his weakness is his own personality, right? Maybe there's an opportunistic, greedy person or a selfish person within him, and now Jason has to struggle against that because is self-sacrificing and he's a true hero. So maybe the enemy is within, and it's his own personality, his own inclinations that his enemies can exploit. And I'll get to that in a little bit when I talk about the villains. I think the movie was pretty balanced when it comes to humor, but I would definitely want to see more of Joe Smone. Wouldn't it be fun to see how is helping Joe Smone through school, how to deal with bullies in school, how to deal with baby crushes in school. So I think having Joe Smone there and seeing him sort of grow as his sidekick and a loyal friend would itself do the humor a world of good. A new character can be introduced, and it'll be interesting to see a mentor-like figure for as is navigating this new space of how to be a hero versus his life as Jason in this town. I think it'll be great if he has a mentor to help him get there. So as long as Basil can come up with a creative, charismatic character, maybe even mysterious character that the audience can relate and care about, I think that dynamic between a mentor and this new superhero would possibly be interesting. The town. Now, because it's a fictional town, you need to make the audience care about the town. For example, if a lot of superheroes seem to be fighting for New York or defending New York. Now, New York is a real place, so we already know its characteristics as a city. So it's easy to care for that city. The movies don't need to flesh out what New York is. Just showing the landmarks in New York gives the superheroes and even the audiences a reason to care for that city. But that's not the case in Minnal Murali. And so for the sequel, I do want them to really detail that town, the people, what is important to that town, what is the pulse of that town, the vibe of the town, so that we can feel like it's real, right? We can actually feel as an audience that, hey, this is my town. I care about these people. Nothing should harm them. Here are my thoughts on the villain. One, let's say the town now has exploded with popularity because of and the whole of India and maybe even the whole of the world is watching this little town that was obscure at one point, but now it's gaining all this attention. So you have vultures sort of going around, which is, politicians and corporates trying to capitalize on this town and use people. And more importantly, they're probably using and they want to do their bidding, use MM's popularity and influence as their mascot for their own gain. And so it'd be interesting to see not just fight supervillains, but, real life villains. You can also have, now, of course, we want to have a supervillain that can match the ability of the hero. And for that, an idea that I thought about was maybe have a person who's practicing black magic gone rogue. Right? In the sense, maybe there's a person who's extremely envious of and wants to have that kind of power. And then he eventually turns to black magic and to some sort of demonic spirit to give him these supernatural abilities, turning him into a super villain. A villain that is born out of envy, I think would be an interesting angle. Now, speaking of the weakness of like I said, let's say if his weakness is being an opportunistic, selfish person, right? Maybe the villain can sort of exploit that by trying to turn the townspeople against right? So they can probably convince the people that, well, is just using you and we are the good guys, right? Whereas is just using you for fame or money or whatever the case is. And that's probably something that himself can struggle with. So I think that angle would be interesting to explore as well. So these are my thoughts when it comes to what I would wish for in a sequel, with a sprinkling of my ideas on where they could take the story. At the end of the day, I believe Basil and his team, along with Tovana, of course, have immense potential to continue to give us great superhero movies. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share and subscribe for more reviews.